Hi, I want to welcome you all to this recording that's part of a larger series offering mental health and suicide prevention information, support, and resources in response to the global pandemic. My name is Kelsey Schmitz, and I work for the University of Washington at the School Mental Health Assessment Research and Training Center, or SMART Center, as the School Mental Health Lead to the Northwest Mental Health Technology Transfer Center. Our center is located in Seattle, Washington. In response to the critical need for information during and after the global pandemic, a group of organizations based in the Northwest region have quickly formed an alliance to join together to co-develop, co-deliver, co-sponsor, and co-brand content, resources, and other information. In an effort to bring together in one spot a wealth of relevant information and access to school mental health experts, the Northwest MHTTC and the UW Smart Center are partnering with Forefront Suicide Prevention Center, Drs. Jim and Liz Mazza, the Association of Washington School Principals, Northwest Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports Network, Sound Supports, and Well Educator to bring you the Wellbeing Series. If you'd like to learn more about the Wellbeing Series, please visit our Wellbeing Series webpage and learn about the other events that are planned. All the events are free and anyone's welcome to join. If you have any questions, you can reach out to my colleague, Megan Lucy. As I mentioned, we're part of the National Mental Health Technology Transfer Center Network. This network is funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration and includes 10 regional centers, a National American Indian and Alaska Native Center, a National Hispanic and Latino Center, and a network coordinating office. If you're interested in reaching out to the Northwest region, where we support the workforce development of school mental health professionals in Alaska, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, you can find information for how to email us, how to visit our website, sign up for our newsletter, and connect with us on social media. Now we hope that you will join us to go into the living room of Drs. Jim and Liz Mazza with their family as they teach their kids the basics of emotional regulation and specific skills such as mindfulness, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness, essential skills at any time, but even more critical during COVID-19. We hope you'll tune into this lesson and the other lessons that are scheduled to help your kids and your family reduce conflict and keep this pandemic in perspective. If you're interested, here's the weekly schedule. All lessons will be recorded and posted to YouTube. You can also watch these on YouTube Live by subscribing to the DBT in Schools YouTube page. We also invite you to join us on May 19th and June 16th for a session live with Drs. Jim and Liz Mazza. These sessions require registration, and you can get those registration links as well as information about the rest of this series by visiting the website at the bottom of this slide. We hope you enjoy this lesson.
Morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm Jim Mazza. I'm one of the developers of our DBT Skills in Schools, which we're going to be teaching today, the what's in the house skills. And so we're going to provide that this information from the curriculum so they can use it at home with your kids and amongst the parents as well. I'm going to introduce my classroom called My Family, and so you can begin.
My name is Jackson. I am 13. I'm in 7th grade.
My name is Grace. I am 8 and I am in 2nd grade.
My name is Ashton. I'm 12 and I'm in 6th grade.
And Liz.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Liz Dexter Mazza.
And Liz will be teaching today, all right? And so thanks for joining us, okay? The idea behind us wanting to teach some of these skills is to help you or with your kids for the regulation piece at home when these emotions are starting to kind of get to us. Staying at home now in our 5th or 6th week is starting to kind of maybe wear and tear on us. And we try to figure out how do we control some of those emotional urges that we have to rush outside or to give somebody a hug or to just be done with the blah because now we're doing COVID, all right? And so this is called Student Skills for Surviving and Thriving during COVID-19 and beyond. And so we're going to start off as we normally do with a exercise in mindfulness. So we're going to play sound ball, and I'm going to get Liz to join us here. So sound ball is a participate exercise in which you're going to throw and capture sound, right? And so these are any sounds that we have. And so we will kind of show you what this looks like as a short demonstration. So certainly you can stand up and do this exercise with your kids or other people that might be there. All right, and so this is one of the what skills. All right, and so when you do a participate exercise, you don't worry about what was said in the past. You don't worry about the future. You just worry about in that moment, right? And so you're going to capture it. Someone's going to throw a sound. We're going to capture that sound, and we're going to throw it, all right? So in doing sound ball, the idea is to not be judgmental about what sound you're going to throw or what sound was just thrown, all right? We want to be mindfully in doing it. So we're just in that moment, all right? So let's demonstrate for maybe 20 seconds before we do a full exercise. Can we do that? All right, we'll give you guys about 5-6 seconds to stand up and get kind of we'll be in a circle. And let's do that. You good with that? We're going to demonstrate for about 20 seconds. All right, let's go. Liz, you can
All right, everybody stand up. We'll demonstrate, then we'll stop and we'll have everybody else do it.
put stuff in your
And you
face.
might just want to turn your volume down a little, not all the way, just since we have a microphone here and we're throwing sound, might be a little bit loud and I don't want it to blow out your ears. And we normally would be doing this louder than we are currently going to do it, but we're going to bring our volume down just to a moderate level so we don't get overly loud on the microphone.
All right, so I'm going to start. You ready? Boing!
Boing. Shazam.
Shazam.
Oof. Oof.
La 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 la!
La la la.
Racket.
Rocket! Boing!
All right, and stop. All right, so that's kind of the how soundball works. All right, and so we want now to take the next 2 minutes. Now kind of have an idea of what this looks like and how it's going to happen. Stand up again, Ashton and Grace. You guys at home
Now that
again.
you're warmed up.
Getting out, you're warmed up, kind of
What
what it
about
looks
me?
like. Remember?
Go and stand
Of
up.
course, you, Jackson. And so, again, remember not to be judgmental. You're fully participating in the moment, so only concentrate on that one thing, that one sound. Someone's gonna throw it. You're gonna capture it this way, and you're gonna throw it somewhere else. All right? It doesn't have to be in any order. All right, I'm gonna start again. Shazam!
Shazam! Oof.
Oof. Flop.
Flop. La la.
La.
Reek.
Reek! Ruff!
Ruff. Ricket.
Rickets. Row.
Row. Boing!
Boing! Mary had.
Mary had no.
No! Yes!
Yes. Oof.
Oof. Flopper whoops.
Flapper whoops. All right.
Nice work at home. All right. Thank you. So that is one of our participate exercises. We then, when we do a mindfulness exercise, we debrief it, right? We go through and say, what did you notice during that exercise? So I'm going to ask my class, my kids, what they noticed. All right. So what did you notice when you were doing the participate exercise?
I yelled out random noises.
Random noise. That's okay. Were you judging your noises?
No.
Okay, great.
Maybe.
We said things twice.
We said things twice, and we did say some things twice, right? Just from the demonstration one to what we did again. Okay.
No, we said oof twice.
Oof twice. All right.
Oops.
Jackson.
I noticed that you two had a lot more emotion than us.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that Mom and I were participating a little bit more fully into it. Even Grace got a couple swings in there, right? And then, yeah, you had you were resting on that arm a little bit there, right? And so we want you to be fully participating in those things, right? And so that might be that next time I'm going to put you over there so you have to stand. Yeah? No. Yeah. And that was just, yes, you would be in the camera. All right. Jackson, anything else that you noticed when you were doing it?
Nope.
All right. So what's the idea behind practicing that mindfulness exercise?
Being mindful.
Being mindful. What does that mean, though?
In the moment.
Yeah, being in the moment.
Present
Why do we want to be in the moment?
So we're not thinking about the future or the past. We're thinking about here.
That's right. Just being in the moment and enjoying the moment for what it is, right? Because if we think about the future and we think about the past, what can happen?
We miss the moment.
We miss the moment. Well, and we can start to grab things from the future and worry about the future, which it fuels our emotions. Or we think about things from the past, and that also fuels our emotion. What happens when our emotions get too fueled, have too much fuel?
They take
Go above 65.
They do it, and then what does that mean?
They drive the bus on that.
Yeah, they start to, our emotion mind kicks in, right? Not our wise mind, and they start to drive the bus. And driving the bus, you mean by what? What does that mean?
Taking control.
Taking control of what?
Your actions.
Yeah, or your thoughts, right? Or your decision making.
cortex.
And so we don't want to do that, right? So that's great. All right, Mom, I am putting you on for teaching. What and how skills?
Awesome.
Thanks,
All
you
right.
guys.
Thanks, guys. All right. So, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on where you are located. Today we're going to finish up with our mindfulness skills today. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all in?
No.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing we're teaching the participate skills today so we can talk about how we participate and go all in. Thank you. All right, so just a little recap. Dad just went over with all of you on what mindfulness is, right? So kind of from our mindfulness exercise today, is mindfulness always this?
No.
No, mindfulness is being in this moment right now without judgment and trying to change it. And like Grace said, not being in the future and not being in the past. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the other day, when we were going through this with all of you, we talked about the mindfulness skills of wise mind and how we want to recognize if we're in emotion mind or making a wise mind decision. And then we started talking about a little bit about the skill of observing. Who remembers what observing is? And if you guys watched this the other day, you remember what observing is? Let us know. Taking observations. What does that mean?
Looking.
To look, right?
Effort. It was like being aware of your surroundings.
Being aware, right? Noticing, right? We talked a lot about noticing. Because observing is simply trying to notice your thoughts, notice the sensations in your body, notice the emotions that you're feeling, notice things that are around you. Okay? And one of the things that I think it's so important about noticing, right? It's even noticing when you're distracted or noticing when you're mindless. Like the other day when I noticed that I was pouring egg whites into my coffee. Right? I was having a mindless moment and then I noticed I got mindful of what I was doing.
Wasn't that Tuesday?
Yes, it was on Tuesday. Yeah, the other day. Okay. So, kind of walking through all of that. So, we're going to keep talking about observing, and how we observe is just noticing. To notice when you're distracted, like when you're in school or for right now on online school and you're supposed to be doing something on the computer or in your online class, and maybe your teacher's lecturing and it's really boring or some notification shows up on your computer screen, right? And you observe, you notice that maybe you're distracted, you're not listening. Or have you ever been in a conversation with somebody or in class where the person is giving you information and you're having the thought, I already know this, and so you stop listening, right? And you're like, oh, I can just fill in that information. I know what they're going to say, right? And so being able to notice that you had that thought can be really helpful to you, right? Right? To notice that you might just be filling in information. Right, because sometimes we do that. We fill in information, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a couple minutes. But that's observe, and then we wanted to move into talking about describing, right? We had those 3 what skills, right? One was to observe, which I want you to remember as to also meaning noticing, right? To notice. And then there's the word describe.
And participate.
And then participate, right? And describe is to put words on something. I always think of it as like wordful watching. Whereas observe is wordless watching. Okay, so those are kind of a couple of points I want you to just see on that. All right, so to describe means to only describe what we observed, what we noticed, right? To not put interpretations or judgments on it in other ways, right? To not fill in missing information. So I want you guys to look, you all have this picture here, and we're going to throw up this observing practice. And I want you first, when we show it to you, to just observe, to just look at it. And then I'm going to ask you to describe what you see. Okay? So let's throw it up on the screen there for everybody. Take a moment, observe, notice, look at the picture. Okay? And then folks at home, if you want to start typing in what you see, describe what you see in the comments. We'll give them a moment to start typing before we look at it. And I want you to observe. Here you go, Ashton. Here's your copy to observe. I know you can see it on the screen as well. Simply notice. Okay, what do you guys notice? Describe what you see.
I noticed that.
Jackson. Oh, hold on, Grace. Jackson.
3 black Pac-Mans.
3 black Pac-Mans.
That's what I was, there were 3 Pac-Mans and there's lines on them.
3 Pac-Mans with some lines.
And then it makes a triangle.
And a triangle. What do you see, Ashton?
A triangle without lines on it.
A triangle without lines. What do you guys see at home?
They see, I got triangles, I got Pac-Mans. Anything else from home? Type it in the chat line.
Ooh.
So
It could be like a bird's eye view of those animated
It also
shows
kind of
or
looks like a
something.
biohazard symbol.
like a biohazard symbol, and
It's like those things in animated shows, from a bird's eye view, where there's 3 things coming together in the sun.
okay, so a bird's eye view of things coming together on it.
Mrs. Pac-Man.
Right, so Grace drew some little bows on top of hers to make Mrs. Pac-Man. So here's the thing, guys. This is the difference between describing what we observe and filling in information. Is there actually a triangle on this page?
No.
No, there's actually just missing space that lines up to look like when we fill in missing information, when we make an interpretation to see a triangle. Are there any Pac-Mans on this page?
Yes.
No.
No, actually there's not.
Well, yeah.
Right? Because Pac-Man's
Pac-Man are
actually
yellow.
yellow. Exactly, not black.
That's
Right?
like Black Pac-Man.
And if you put a bow on it, it would be
Black
Mrs.
Mrs.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
Right? But it's actually just 3 round shapes with a notch missing out of each of them. Right? I've heard people tell me that they think it looks like cheese or pizza. Right? And when we see that, is that just our brains filling in information?
Probably.
Right? And so sometimes our brains does that, and it stops letting us take in what's actually there. Right? And so we may do that when we're thinking that other people are thinking things about us, like when somebody walks into a room and doesn't say hi, we start filling in information about what we think they might be thinking. Like, oh, are they mad at us? Or how come I'm noticing on social media that all my friends are out doing something, or they're in a Zoom meeting or in some kind of group chat, and I'm not there? Do I start thinking I'm feeling left out, or they don't like me, or nobody wants to include me? Right? I might start filling in information like that, rather than just observing and figuring out. Another skill we have is check the facts, what actually might be going on. So we want to notice what's information we fill in versus what information we can actually observe on that. And that's where describing comes in, right? To describe only what we can see without interpretation. What we can observe either inside us or outside of us. Okay, so here's another. Jim, can you change it so that they can't see us on there, please? Thank you.
Sure.
So here's another thing I want you guys to do now, and I want you guys to do this at home as well. All right, so I don't want you to start yelling out right away, because we're going to give everybody at home a moment to fill in here as well. All right? I want you to describe what you see right now. And I'm going to move a little bit closer over here. You ready? Okay, so write down what you described right there.
Write
You guys
down.
Write down.
Where
what,
do we write it?
Right
Write
on the
anywhere on your
triangle.
page,
Oh.
and you guys type in, what do you see? All right, and you guys at home, you tell us what you see as well. All right, do you have anything coming in there? We've got some
Looking right now. Hands on hips, deep breathing.
hands on
Thank
hips,
you.
deep breathing. Okay, what do you guys see?
A triggered teacher that just got hurt because one of her kids was messing around.
All right, a triggered teacher that just got hurt because one of her kids was messing around. What did you
one
see?
ahead.
Anger, frustration, annoyance, and pain.
Anger, frustration, annoyance, and pain. What do we have over here?
A mom being a mom.
A mom being a mom. What do you see, Grace?
Stomping, crinkling face, and madness.
And madness. Okay, so in all of these pieces,
Everyday
let's talk
life.
about which ones of these describes that you all did are ones that you actually observed versus ones that you made an interpretation of. So I heard somebody say, hands on hips, deep breathing. Was that something you observed, or was that an interpretation?
Observed.
That's what you observed. My hands were like this, and I was making really loud noises. Okay? Grace, you said crinkling face, right? That was something you observed. Did you observe madness? Or did
No,
you...
I was thinking madness in my mind, though I did not see it.
Right,
So
because...
I was thinking of writing it down.
Okay, so you were thinking madness, right? You were thinking like everything I was doing, oh, she must be mad. You were making an interpretation on that. Ashton, what did you said? An interpretation like, oh, she looks like a teacher raging. Is that what you said? What were the exact words?
What I wrote on the paper was a pissed off teacher in pain.
Okay, so a really pissed off teacher in pain, right? Kind of, that was the interpretation you made of my actions. And Jackson, what'd you put down? You had
Anger, frustration, annoyance, pain.
Okay, so can we really observe, like, did you observe anger, frustration from this, or is that an interpretation you made from my behavior?
Interpretation.
An interpretation, right? And so kind of brows furrowed, looking up, right? Those are some observations. So I hope you can see the difference between what we observe and what we interpret, right? That sometimes it's our minds, because sometimes we fill in information. And I think right now during COVID-19 is one of those times where many of us are at home. We're not interacting a whole lot socially with other people outside of our families. And it's giving us a lot of time to just kind of be in our heads by ourselves, and which provides sometimes opportunities for some negative thoughts to be coming in, especially when you're not engaging and interacting with other people, like maybe some negative thoughts about yourself, and to be able to notice that those are some interpretations that might not be based on facts. And so just observing and describing thoughts as thoughts is really important to recognize what's a thought and that not all thoughts are facts or are true. Okay, so when we're describing. So let's talk about the last what skill of mindfulness here now. Participate. Right? Somebody read to me what the participate is. It's on your hand, then the handout you have there. And then so everybody else at home can hear it too. Yeah, Gracie, read it for us.
Throw yourself into the present moment fully. E.g., dancing, cleaning, taking a test. Feeling sad in the moment. Try not to worry about tomorrow or focus on yesterday. Become one with whatever you're doing. Get into the zone. Fully experience your feelings without being self-conscious. Experience even negative emotions fully to help your wise mind make a decision about whatever to do instead of acting impulsively.
Awesome reading. You get reading points for the day. For school. That was great. Okay. So throwing yourself in. So what did we do already this morning? That was a participate activity about throwing ourselves in all the way.
Sound ball.
Sound ball. Exactly. Right? And were there some urges or maybe thoughts during sound ball about judgments about what somebody else's sound was or what your sound was going to be? Right? And noticing that, right? So and did you have the urge to just kind of step outside and watch rather than go all in?
Yeah.
Right? And does that sometimes maybe happen to you at home or at school or during other sports activities where you're questioning whether you want to fully participate in something? Either because you're worried about how other people may judge you, right, on things, and so you just kind of want, or how you might judge yourself, how you may actually do in whatever the activity is, so you kind of hold back thinking maybe at times, well, if I can't do this perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. Do you sometimes maybe have that experience, right, of not throwing yourself completely in, right? So this is about being all in, like being in the zone. Like Ashton, when you're playing soccer and and the ball's coming at you and you're goalie, or when you're playing as defender, do you get in the zone? Do you kind of like focus completely all in one moment, just participating in that game?
Yeah.
Right? When it's right there and you're in the middle of the action?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can you make sure everybody can hear you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as you're doing that, right, you're just fully in the zone. Are you paying attention to what people are yelling from the sidelines?
No.
No? Especially sometimes the parents are yelling, and who are you only supposed to listen to during a game?
My coach.
Your coach.
Or the
Or
ref.
teammates.
Your coach, teammates, or the ref if they're giving you information, right? But you shouldn't be listening to what all the people in the stands are doing. Mm-hmm. So participating is about throwing yourself fully into the moment, kind of not just stepping outside and watching, but entering in. And I always think, like, my phrase that I think about for participate is, if I want to participate in the moment, it means I don't want to miss the moment, right? You know, when sometimes you're having a really, really good time at something, and you're on vacation or something, or spring break, and you're thinking about, like, oh, I'm having such a good time, but man, we got to go home tomorrow. Or, oh, this is going to be over in like an hour, and that's going to be such a bummer. And when you focus on being in the when it's over, are you in the moment? Are you mindfully in the moment? And then could you end up missing the current moment that you're in of something really fun?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so those are things we want to think about. How do you not miss the moment by fully participating in it and not thinking about when it's going to be over or what other people are going to think? And if we do all of this in wise mind, it can make it much more effective. Make sense? So that's why in a lot of our mindfulness exercises, sometimes we sit and we practice being still and breathing and participating in just our bodies in the moment. And sometimes we do big activities so that we can practice how do we participate living mindfully day to day, not just sitting still. And then there's one thing on here that I really love that I want to make sure everybody remembers, that we can even participate with experiencing painful emotions fully in our wise mind. We can mindfully participate in feeling sad and feeling anxious. When our emotions fit the facts, we don't always have to push those uncomfortable emotions away, that we can sit and feel those too and participate in that, right? So sometimes do we just kind of like sit and cry when we're sad or sit in with worry? We don't always just say, oh, how do I make you feel better? Let's get away from this.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we want to participate mindfully and also experiencing our emotions. Okay, so I didn't even write participate up here, but those are the 3 what and how skills. Can I have the eraser, please? Right? And so we're going to take that off there, and I want to talk to you now about the 3 how skills. Because I think the what skills of what we're going to do, we're going to observe, we're going to describe, and we're going to participate, right? And we can only do those one at a time. If we're observing, we're not describing.
And the how
Right.
skills are how to do it.
And the how skills, exactly, Grace, are how to do it, right? And those, we're going to talk about 3 of them, right? We're going to talk about being non-judgmental, being one mindfully, and being effective. So for non-judgmental, you guys, we've talked a lot about this before, and we've done this in one of our previous lessons. What does it mean? And if you've got your hand out, Jackson or Grace, maybe you can read for Jackson or Ashton, maybe you can read for us. Okay. So let's talk about what it means to be non-judgmental. And you guys, there's a lot there, so you can split those up. Jackson, can you just pick the whole thing up? Okay, so what does it mean to be non-judgmental, Jackson? Read some of those for us.
Yep, this is mine.
Go ahead, Jackson.
Notice but don't evaluate or judge. Stick to the observable facts. Acknowledge the harmful and the helpful, but don't judge it. For example, replace "he's a jerk" with "he walked away while we were talking." You can't go through life without making judgments. Your goal is to catch them so you have more control over your emotions. When you find yourself judging, don't judge, you're judging.
And then we'll get to the other pieces there, okay? Thanks, Jackson. So what non-judgmental, right? Basically, in a nutshell, here's what I want you to know about being non-judgmental on this, okay? On non-judgmental, I want you to know that judgmental words, right? Or actually, let me write it this way. Judgmental words are shorthand for good and bad. Like the good and bad outcomes of something, right? Like a lot of times we hear people say like, don't do that, it's inappropriate. You shouldn't be acting that way, it's inappropriate. Inappropriate is just another word for bad, right? Don't do it because it's going to have this kind of negative outcome if you do it. Or consequence, great, right? And the same thing, like that's appropriate behavior is another way of saying that's good, it will have a positive outcome or consequence. Right?
Or it just doesn't have a negative outcome.
Or just doesn't have a negative. It can be neutral also. And so when we're thinking about that, what we really want to think about there is, what is that telling us, right? Like if I say, Grace, stop doing that. It's really bad. Do you really know what I mean?
No.
Or what I'm talking about, right? Or if I say, that guy came up to our porch the other day and he was such a jerk.
The mailman?
Right? Do you know? No. It could have been the mailman, and what made him a jerk?
He dropped the mail.
He dropped the mail, or he set down the mail.
No, he didn't set down the mail. He just dropped it.
He just dropped it, or maybe he didn't wear a glove when putting it in our mailbox, or maybe because he knocked on the door when we were in the middle of recording a live stream. When I say he's a jerk, do you actually have any idea what he did? No. But when I say someone's a jerk, what do you think it does to my emotions?
Makes him
flare.
It makes them flare, right? I always think of judgmental words, like shorthand for good and bad, right? Those are words that like fuel the intensity of my emotion, right? Same thing if I say, oh my God, that guy was so awesome, it was the best thing ever. Does that fuel my excitement and my joy? Makes it bigger, right? And so those judgmental words can be fueling the intensity of and getting me further into emotion mind.
Mom.
Yeah, Grace.
You said judgments are the shorthand words for good and bad,
Mhm.
but good and bad are judgments.
Yes, they are. Exactly. You got it. And so when we talk about good and bad, those are judgments that sometimes they don't give us enough information and they keep us away from describing what we see, right? Because sometimes even people say like, oh, you look so angry, as if that's a bad thing, right? We make those interpretations that being angry is bad or being sad is bad when it just is. And so we want to practice describing non-judgmentally. And so, if I want to say like, hey, the mailman came in and he knocked on the door and just dropped all of the mail on the porch without putting it in the mailbox, that takes a whole lot more words. But is that giving me more of a description rather than just saying he was a jerk?
Much more.
Much more, right? And what do you think happens to my emotions? Do they get as intense
No.
if I use all those words to describe exactly what he did? Right? So I'm going to practice describing non-judgmentally, right? To start trying to take away the shorthand, right? Do you ever have that in school? And maybe you're having that with thinking that you either have too much schoolwork or too little schoolwork, or the assignments that you're getting are stupid or worthless.
There's no such thing as too little schoolwork.
There's no such thing as I bet to some parents there's some things as too little schoolwork. But when you are doing any of your assignments, have you had the thought, this is stupid? I don't understand why I have to do this.
No.
And
Yes.
And when you
No.
have the thought, this is stupid, does that make you want to do the work? Or does it make it less likely and less encouraging and for you to do the work?
Probably not.
Right? You don't want to do it much less, right? Because that stupid word fuels your judgments and can fuel your anger. And the more you're angry, the more you don't want to do it. Make sense?
Yep.
So we want to practice being non-judgmental. But let me just talk a little bit about these differentiating judgments and evaluating judgments, right? So evaluative judgments, these good or bad judgments, these are the ones we're trying to either get rid of or decrease, right, on things. There's differentiating judgments, right, that discern or discriminate between two things, like a judge in a court of law, right? His job is to differentiate, was your behavior within the law or was your behavior outside the law, right? That's their job, right? We're not trying to get rid of those judgments. Or your teachers at school are trying to differentiate between like, did you meet the grading criteria for this rubric for an A? Or did you meet the criteria for a B or for a C? Or like Ashton, I know on some of like your writing projects, your teachers give you a whole checklist of, did you check your grammar? Did you check your indents? Is your title page formatted, right? They give you all those pieces and they're checking off, did you do it or not do it? Do it or not do it?
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of what we call differentiating judgments. We're not trying to get rid of those. It's just the ones that kind of shorthand for good and bad that can end up fueling the intensity of our emotions. Another way to think about these are the judgments that are based on perspective, right? That what you think is good, I might think is bad, right? Like I think you reading Animal Farm is really effective for you to be able to learn about history and allegory and all this stuff. And you might think, Jackson, oh, this is so boring. I don't understand why I have to read this book. It's bad. It's nothing I'm interested in. I only like sci-fi or mystery books, right? And we can, and that may or may not be true, but if we have different perspectives, right?
Like
those are
politics.
like politics. This person is good versus that person is bad. Those are the ones we're trying to decrease to just describe. That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So non-judgmental stance is one you'll hear us talk a lot about. The next one is, we've talked about this already, being one mindful. All right? So I'm not going to have us read through this, but one mindful is about doing mindfulness, staying focused on one thing in the moment, being here right now doing this activity. So you're not thinking about, oh, what am I missing in school right now while my classmates are all in school? I'm just focused right now in this moment on being in our Steps A class with everybody online and in our living room here right now. Okay, just being in this place, one mindfully, letting go of distractions and refocusing our attention here. So before we finish up, let's talk about the last piece of the house skills.
Activity.
Right? Effectively.
Oh.
Yeah, Ashton, can you read effectively for us?
Okay. Effectively. Be effective. Focus on what works to achieve your goal. Don't let emotions control your behavior, cutting the cord between feeling and doing. Play by the rules, which may vary at home, school, or work. Act as skillfully as you can to achieve your goals. Let go of negative feelings I don't know what EG means.
For example, is what EG means.
Oh, yeah.
IE means that also.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Vengeance and useless anger and shoulds. My teacher should have. That can hurt you and make things worse.
Okay. So being effective is about doing what works right now. Like, I always think of being effective when we talk about this, and I like to use the word effective and not effective a lot more than good or bad or appropriate or not appropriate, because effective means, is this behavior in line with my goals, my long-term goal, right? So what I mean by that, and another way to think about it, is think about what are some of your goals, guys, here for the end of the day? What is one of the things you often want to do at the end of the day? And same thing for you guys at home. What's something you usually want to do towards the end of the day after school is done? Play video games, right? Or get some screen time, or watch a movie or a show, right? And if that's one of your long-term goals, what do you need to be able to do during the day in order to play video games after school in the evenings?
Catch up on all your work and do some extra chores.
So maybe get your chores done, do your schoolwork during the day, right? But what happens if you keep distracting during the day, or you keep getting up and running around the house, or you keep saying, I'm not going to do this?
Work before play.
Or does that get you closer to your goal
No.
or not?
Right.
No.
Right? And so maybe those emotions of like, I shouldn't have to do this, I shouldn't have to write this paper, I shouldn't have to do this assignment, I shouldn't have to be spending 6 hours in front of my computer during the school day, right? Some of those shoulds, right, get in the way and your emotions go up.
Yeah.
And does that get you further away or closer to your goal of playing video games at the end of the day? Further. So being effective is thinking about your long-term goals and asking yourself, is this behavior getting more effective at getting me what I want or no? And the hard part is when we think about short-term and long-term, is it helpful in getting me what I want now versus what I want most, right? And the most is what we're connecting to those long-term goals, right? So most, I know it's really, really important for you guys to be able to, connect with your friends after school playing video games. And that's what you really want versus right now, if I just don't feel like doing this assignment. And asking yourself that question during the day, is this what I want now or is it what I want most? Do I want to have this argument with my parents right now because I don't want to do this assignment, or my computer's not working and I can't get online, or I'm just frustrated with the people who are in my house right now, versus what I want most is to be able to play video games later, or to have a family activity, or to be able to go for a walk, or just have some free time to sit and read. That's what I want most. So I think it's really important that maybe at the beginning of each day you think about what are your goals for the day. Or I think for us as like a family, I've been thinking a lot about like, what do I want most as a goal for us as a family when we come out of this kind of new reality of COVID-19 and this stay-at-home order, right? Is it that I just wanted to make sure that is my goal that you just stayed up to date on all of your schoolwork? Or do I want us to come out kind of closer as a family, identifying new family activities that we're going to do together?
The latter.
Thriving, right.
The latter one.
Right, the latter one, right? Grace, you said it. That's why this class is called Skills for Surviving and Thriving. Because I don't want us just to survive. What I want most for us is for us to thrive through COVID-19. Not just white knuckle it and get through. Exactly. To kind of grow, like you guys are learning how to do some cooking, you're learning how to cleaning, which makes me really excited in all of this, right? Those are things I want most, for all of us to come out thriving during this time. So I'm often asking myself that question, is it what you want now or is it what you want most? Is it the short-term gain or the long-term gain do I want? Those are all ways to think about that. Okay. And so I've got to act skillfully. Sometimes it's not skillful to, talk back to a teacher or an adult or a parent because you're frustrated right now and it gets you further away from that. I always sometimes think like if I don't want to do an activity in school because I'm so frustrated with this class or this teacher and what I want is to just get out of this class, well, if I do the work now, then I get away from the fact that I might have to repeat the class again next year. So what I want most is to be done with this class as fast as possible. So how do I focus on being effective to get the work done so that I don't have to repeat it next year or get retained or do it again or be with that teacher again? Retained to be held back, right, and have to repeat the class again.
They don't like being held.
No. All right. Does that make sense? Okay, because those are the 3 how skills. We're gonna practice being effective, right? Thinking about what we want now versus what we want most. We're gonna be one mindfully here right now, and most of all, we're gonna practice being non-judgmental, right? And we're gonna use all of these skills as a way of getting us into wise mind, right? And these skills are the foundations. Are the foundations for all of the other skills that we're going to keep teaching, right, as we kind of go through this. And remember, with the how skills, you can do all of those at the same time, right? I can be effective and one mindfully and non-judgmental at the same time, whereas when I'm doing the what skills, I'm either observing or describing or participating, right? And so, I think about this, when you guys started learning to play piano, right? Like first you were just observing, right? You were just noticing what your piano teacher was doing, watching, taking in the music, taking in the notes. And then maybe you started describing, you'd write the notes out on the music and notice where your fingers go, right? And now when you're playing, often you're just participating, right? You're not thinking about the notes. You've got most of it memorized. You're just kind of moving with the music. On that, you're pulling it all together. All right. How many of you out there have ever played an instrument or been in some kind of performance, like a piano recital for you guys, or maybe a play or a drama or some kind of activity?
A band recital.
Or a band recital, and you've had to be in there. I always think about when Grace, right before she had her first piano recital, I'll tell you guys this last story of how this all pulls together for mindfulness. And I walked in at the tail end of one of your piano lessons, and her piano teacher was getting her recital ready. And he said to her, okay, you know the music now. We've got to get you ready for the recital. And during the recital, what's one of the most important things you have to remember during the recital?
Stay focused.
Stay focused. That no matter what happens, keep playing. Right? And so then what did your piano teacher do?
He would sing I'm a Little Teapot and drop his ring and then start playing at the end of the piano. Random, like the song you were playing, but really high.
All while you were trying to focus and play your piece,
Or
right?
a different piece that you were playing.
Right, he'd start playing other notes, he'd start shaking your piano bench, he'd start singing to you.
He'd turn off the lights.
He'd turn off the lights, all while he was trying to keep you playing. He'd drop things, right? And what did you do during all of that?
Try to stay focused.
Try to stay focused. That, my friends, is mindfulness. Is putting your attention and focusing your awareness right here, right now, despite all the distractions that are around you.
I couldn't do it if someone started singing I'm a Little Teapot.
Well, with practice you could, right? That's one of the muscles that we're growing of mindfulness, right? And so that's another piece I just want you to remember about mindfulness. Mindfulness is not about just being able to be focused when the whole room is quiet and there are no distractions around you. Mindfulness is being able to keep your attention and your focus where you want it to be, despite the world of distractions that we live in all the time. All right, my friends, with that, I hope this was a helpful class to you. We've got a few final take-home points for you before we say goodbye. And so here's what I want you to remember for today, is that first, the what and how skills are the skills we use to access wise mind. These are all part of our mindfulness skills. You can only describe what you've observed, and noticing that everything else, that those other thoughts might all be interpretations, and that judgments fuel our emotions and they're shorthand for good and bad. So we want to describe our behaviors as more effective or ineffective, right? That they're in line with our long-term goals, right? And for you all, I want you, when you're at dinner tonight or throughout the day with your family, why don't you start talking about what is your long-term goal? Either the goal for the day, the goal for the week, or the goal for this COVID-19 period through the rest of the school year. But take those questions, take a screenshot of this, and have this conversation with your family, and then maybe even play some sound ball today or in the next couple of days. With that, we're going to get ready to say goodbye to you all in just a moment. I'm going to ask you to please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, come check us, Jim and I, out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings for our Parenting Through COVID-19 on both on Facebook and Instagram under DBT in Schools. And then you can always access all of these videos on the dbtinschools.com website. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great weekend, and we will see you Monday morning or tomorrow morning for Parenting Through COVID-19, and next Tuesday for our next Student Skills DBT Steps A class. Bye.